Peter Walker, fascinating man with an amazing story to tell. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
I'm just so happy that you're here because I love your voice. I think anyone who watches this will just be mesmerised by, like I was saying to you just now, the beauty, the tone, the vibration of your voice. You started the proceedings here at the festival this morning, and we were just talking about that and how that operated, because what I felt when that was happening was that simply your words, not even the words, the words that had meaning, but it was also the vibration of your voice saying those words, and I felt that affect my whole being and change the energy in the entire space. So I'm just asking you how that came about, and what was going on for you at that moment.
It's a difficult question for me to answer. Most of them are, because I become really not present in that. That is, there's a lot of work in sacred sexuality and in consciousness to encourage people to be really present. My effort in those kinds of deliveries is actually to be the hollow bamboo flute, and just the hollow bamboo flute on the lips of God. So to just allow whatever is coming to come without thought and without delivering, but just allowing something to flow through me, and it something does. I never remember a word. I don't know what I speak about. I know it was something to do with ancestors and ancestry. I know that was there.
Yes,
beyond that.
Important, actually, the bit when you mentioned also the indigenous peoples of this land, which is something, I'm from Britain, I'm from London, so I don't really know about that, although I'm becoming aware of it. So it felt potent and important that you paid homage to the peoples of this land, the original inhabitants of this land.
Yeah.
Is that something that you feel passionate about, or did that just come through you?
It's extraordinarily important. We're in a time where there is beginning to be some knowledge of the way in which all of those who were not original to this land treated those who were original to this land. And they were here for literally tens, even hundreds of thousands of years, certainly tens of thousands. And just to take a moment to recognize that if we can bring in a few short generations some kind of spirit to this land and all the change we've made to this land, just imagine what still resides here with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years of a people who essentially shifted and changed this land, but left it after tens of thousands of years in a place where it was still absolutely abundant. And in a couple of hundred years we've made really significant changes to that. There's a lot to learn from a people that largely we overlook. So, yeah, homage is a nice word for it. Yeah. And we're all connected. I have brothers in the Aboriginal community here who have the good heart and soul to be able to say, hey, let's drop all that, we're all brothers, we're all sisters. That's a pretty big move from a people that were really dispossessed from this land. So yes, it's important.
I just wanted to ask, you were saying just now how you open and you're not really present, you go into a space of non-presence in a way when you speak in that way. Is that something you've always been able to do, or how has that come about?
For, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years, I made an effort to, so you're speaking with a person who had a really large presence and ego and was on stage a lot and in front of cameras a lot. And
are you famous? Should I recognise you?
What's that?
Do you know what I mean? I'm from London. Would everyone in Australia know who you are?
No. There's a good proportion of this community who I'm a friend of, and a fairly large group of people who have watched in some way what's happened over the last 4 years as I've walked and visited people and met many people. But there just needed, for me, there needed to be some decision to shift from being kind of larger than life, which was very much the place I held, and lots of arrogance and lots of bluster, and to move into a place of what's bigger than me, you know, how can I open to something else, and that's been a practice of mine now for 5 or 6 years.
So did something specific happen to prompt that change?
Yes, I was asked during a meditation, I was asked whether I could drop everything, let everything go. I was working with a guide at the time, and he asked me to drop everything, you know, drop my debts, drop my concerns and my worries, until eventually it was drop my family, drop everything in my life. And I decided that I would do that, and proceeded to do that. Walked away from my close relationship, walked away from my friends, walked away from everything, and gave away or sold everything, and began a journey that was what I guess the old masters describe as the inner journey, and chose to do it walking. You know, I was asked, now that everything's dropped away, what now? And I said, I'll walk the world. And a week later, I had set myself up to walk the world.
So where have you walked?
So far?
Yeah, in the last 4 years?
The coast of New South Wales, most of New Zealand. Somehow a friend turned up and sailed me from there to Fiji, and I walked around the islands of Fiji and lived with the villagers, and essentially walked with virtually no money, and was just invited into one family after another, and met chiefs and met leaders in communities, and met people on the side of the road. Came back, taught, did some teachings, then moved to a walk around Tasmania, walked the whole way around Tasmania, and went with another person.
Wow, did you have a map? Did you just start walking and see where?
Pretty much, yeah. And then most recently, well, not most recently, but second most recently, walked just over 1,000 kilometres in India, and there's much more of India than that, but and met swamis and babas and billionaires and poverty-stricken, and lived in villages, and gained the humility of recognising my privilege, and most recently came back and several weeks ago walked in silence for 2 weeks from here at Byron Bay through to Brisbane, asking Australians to reconsider how we're treating refugee children in particular, and the silence was intended to indicate that we're silent about that with one another. We're silent about the dissonance between how we treat our own children and how we separate others and say that they're not as valuable as children, take away their innocence. And the silence was to say we make them silent and we remain silent about it while children lose their childhood in prison. And that's all of our responsibility. And that's, who knows what's next.
So at this point, as I understand it, you have no base, no possessions?
A few possessions. They keep coming back. I keep moving them off, and they keep coming back. And
No close relationships?
A much closer relationship with myself, and lovely relationships with many people, but not. There's not the one.
So what has this, if you were to sum it up from that point of hearing the message to let everything go, and you did, and you went, and you walked, and now you're here, so looking back, what's been the gift of that?
Peace. It's the gift that if we are all able to embrace it, if we're all able to find peace, then maybe there'll be an opportunity for the whole of this planet to have a little more healing, have a little more maturity, have a little more relaxation about being here, recognize that everything we own owns us, that we are actually held here. We're meant to be here anyway, so constantly consuming because we feel empty, and constantly chasing to have more, or to hold more, or to find the one, or to all of that yearning is completely and utterly unnecessary, because there's peace available, and when peace is available, everything just comes. There's no longer any seeking needed. It's just present.
What an amazing, inspiring story, Peter. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Great pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for watching, and join me, Shakti Sundari, on the next Heart to Heart.